The views.
The financial meltdown. The year is 2014. All the U.S. banks have been nationalized. Unemployment is about between 12 and 20%. Dow is trading at 2,800. The real estate market has collapsed. Government and unions control most of the business, and America's credit rating has been downgraded. That's the first scenario. I want to talk to you now about something called the Bubba effect. I believe this part of the scenario is likely to happen, and I hope to God it doesn't. But we need to talk about it. Tim Strong is a retired Command Sergeant Major in the U.S. Army. Hey, Tim, how are you?
Hey, Glenn. Good evening. How are you doing tonight?
Explain what the Bubba effect is. This is something that the military has been concerned about.
Well, we'll go back to the segue of the survivalist attitude. You know, it's that American that exists, that believes and trusts an American as it currently exists, and you know, they lose that faith and confidence within the various politicians and the areas that surround them. They end up developing their own infrastructure, their own means to survive, to basically fend for themselves. The disadvantage to that, Glenn, is with the Bubba effect, is it's not the diesel trucks and all that as we currently refer to, but you know, they can critically be a key play when it comes to, you know, having their own biofuel, that type of stuff to survive. You know, they'll have their own community, they'll be very conscious of who enters their community, and it's almost going to be a commune-based society, but they won't project that based on the fact that they want to project normalcy.
Okay.
But those that enter their space that are threatening to them, and again, we don't want to use the word profiling, but that's, you're definitely going to stand out. You're not going to look like a Bubba.
Okay.
And
so Tim, I want to break here. I have to take a commercial break, but I want to, at the bottom of the hour, I want to come back and show how that community, because that's like Mad Max community, how that actually starts here, how that is probably beginning, it has already begun here in America, and how it manifests itself. What are the other pressures that are building around the globe? And what if the U.S. can no longer be the world's policeman because the economy, the global economy, has broken down? That scenario when we return. Tonight, it's a special. It's the War Room. We're war-gaming different scenarios. We are not predicting that these things will happen. In fact, I think everybody on this set is praying that these things won't happen, but it's interesting. We were talking in the middle of the break that most of the people on the set and that are joining us via satellite really think these are light scenarios. These are the bedtime stories, as Bob Baer said just a minute ago. We're just asking, what would we do if they did happen? Our third scenario, anger and discontent at home. The year is 2014. Many Americans are feeling disenfranchised. People are isolated from their political leaders. They've been betrayed over and over and over again. Internet connects like-minded people, and the Bubba effect, a rise in individual militias. With me now is Michael Scheuer. He is the former head of the CIA Bin Laden unit. And back again is Tim Strong, a retired Command Sergeant Major in the U.S. Army. Quickly, let me just, before we go, let me go to Michael and Gerald here on, or Stephen. Stephen, give me the, Michael. I'm sorry, I know. Thank God. Stephen, give me the, real quick, how much are taxes in our scenario of 2014 to pay for all the stuff that we're doing? How much are taxes?
We tried to pay for all of the spending we've done, and just the last 18 months with higher tax rates, Heritage Foundation and other groups have estimated the tax rates at the top would have to go to 80, 90, perhaps even 95%, which means that 95% of everything you make would have to go to the government just to pay for what we've already spent money on.
Gerald, what happens to the people when you start taxing? Like
tax revolts.
Yeah, tax revolts.
We all heard it on CNBC yesterday.
But you're not talking about a tea party.
Oh, no. This is going to be violent. People can't afford it anymore. Okay. Look, the cities are going to look like Dodge City. They're going to be uncontrollable. You're going to have gangs in control, motorcycle marauders. You're not going to have enough police or federales, just like Mexico, to control the situation.
Tim, I want to come to you now. You're a credible guy. You were one of the first guys in Iraq, if I'm not mistaken, during this war. You have been with the military for a very long time. You are one of the guys in the front lines. Michael, you were up in the caves hunting for Osama bin Laden. You guys have all the credibility there can be on on thinking the unthinkable and living the unthinkable. Tim, let me come back to you and ask you the Bubba effect. As I understand the Bubba effect, prior to what you set up in the opening, it is, let's say there's a rancher who's protecting his property down in Texas or Arizona, like the rancher that just was this week, and he defends his property. The ATF and the FBI come down, they arrest him, they haul him away. There's got to be Texans and Arizonans that say, whoa, wait a minute, hang on, you people knew this was going to happen. Mexico has collapsed, they're coming across, I have a right to protect my own property. That's the Bubba effect. Now the government has to make a choice who the bad guys and who the good guys are, because people have been so disenfranchised. Is that possible?
Glenn, that's totally possible, and that's the problem, because the Bubbas are compliance to civil, right, or civil ordained. The problem you have, Glenn, is you've got people that are going to do the right thing to truly protect the interest of the United States, to include their own, but they're the ones that are going to be apprehended for it because they did something to somebody that was not in compliance with what the U.S. government, because it's easy to arrest a guy who's going to be orderly and conduct himself accordingly, because that's what our society breeds. So the problem is...
No, go ahead. No, finish.
No, the problem is, that's going to get to the point where you see the other Texans and Arizonans that aren't going to allow to be arrested because of the first and second individuals at war. So your second, third orders of effect are going to become your Bubbas hunkering down and being anti-government.
Okay. Michael, the government coming in and disenfranchising people over and over and over again, and having the people say, please listen to us. The average person, some people will listen to the government, but others, and I'm seeing it already, they know the Constitution, they know the writings of the founders, and they feel that the government, or they will in this scenario, and I think we're on this road, the government has betrayed the Constitution, and so they will see themselves as people who are standing up for the Constitution. So how do you diffuse this, Michael, or how long even do we have before this becomes a crazy real scenario?
Well, I don't think you'd want to diffuse it, Glenn. We've had a 40-minute program so far, and all of the problems we've talked about in one way or another are the result of the American government either overspending or overreaching.
Wait a minute. Are both of you guys saying that you don't want to... I don't think we would head for an American revolution. We would head for a French revolution. This is a scenario that would tear this country apart and spiral us into something that maybe we have never even seen before, including the Civil War.
Glenn, the Second Amendment is about, at base, not about hunting or about a militia, but about resisting tyranny. The founders were very concerned about allowing individual citizens weaponry to defend themselves as a last resort against the tyrannical government. I don't think the founders ever considered that there would be a tyranny of incompetence, but I think that's what we're facing.
Okay.
And ultimately, that's the right of the American.
Both of you guys, I mean, I can't believe I'm hearing this, and don't get me wrong, I am against the government, and I think that they have just been horrible, and I do think they are betraying the principles of our founders every day they're in office. But I have to tell you, this scenario scares the living daylights out of me, because it is shaking nitroglycerin. You both served in the military. You tell me, do the soldiers come in and do they round up people, or do they fight with the people for the Constitution? What is the Army? What does the military do? Neither one of neither one of you. You just said that, Michael Shore, but you won't say which side the military chooses?
I don't think the military is ever going to shoot on the American people, sir. I think the military, of all people, read the Constitution every year, right through.
Okay, Tim, can you give me an extra minute? Tim, I want to ask you real quick. Tim, we have military exercises going on in Iowa right now. We have a battalion, I believe, in Maryland. People are training for civil unrest all over the country. I believe the answers, that they give, and they say, well, this is for this kind of unrest or this kind of unrest. Except we just had in our stimulus package a way for, if your governor says no to the money, the legislature can go around the governor and go right to the feds. It's this kind of thing that would make the federal government say, you know what, we can call up the National Guard. We don't need your governor to do it. Do you believe those scenarios, or is this crackpot stuff?
No, hey, Glenn, I think that's a possibility. But to be frank with you, Civil War, history repeats itself, and I don't think that you will have brothers fighting each other like we did back in the Civil War. We've learned our lesson. It's state-owned, but it's also state-sponsored by those people of that community.